Hello, friends. Imagine a car where you have to search for the door handle somewhere near the floor at knee height, and the bank card barely fits into the glove compartment, and the cup holder is not on the side of the seat, but behind your back. Strange, isn't it? Today, my friends, we will tell you about the most expensive and luxurious car of the last 50 years, namely the Lamborghini brand. Talking about one of the most expensive cars in the history of mankind, one cannot help but stop at the biography of its creator. The father of the Lamborghini brand is considered to be the Italian industrialist and businessman Ferruccio Lamborghini. And as it often happens, Ferruccio was born in 1916 into a family of ordinary farmers. From childhood, his father taught him to work on the farm and instilled a love for various mechanisms. Whenever something broke down, whether it was a simple grain crusher or a hand tool, Ferruccio was always there with his father, helping him with repairs. By the age of 12, his parents noticed that he was very interested in small metal parts, and he skillfully crafted something out of them all the time. Seeing his son's passion in one of the barns on the farm, his father even created a small workshop equipped with all the necessary tools for construction. It was in this way that the boy began to cast various parts for working machinery. One ordinary day, Ferruccio was working in the workshop as usual, and unexpectedly a spark fell on the wooden floor during casting, and it began to burn in just a few seconds. Fortunately, his father was nearby at that moment, who quickly realized what to do and was able to save his farm from a big fire. Despite such an incident, Ferruccio did not give up his passion, but only continued to study it. After finishing school, he enrolled in a technical university, where he easily absorbed knowledge in the field of casting and welding. After receiving his professional license, without wasting a day, he immediately got a job at a local forge, and in 1932, he became one of the blacksmith's apprentices. After gaining 2 years of experience and practice, he changed jobs in 1934 and joined one of the workshops in the city of Bologna, where he worked directly with the military. It is worth noting that the young man was madly in love with his craft. Besides bringing him a small income, he also enjoyed it. This was probably the most important thing. Thanks to his love for this work, he later built a career for himself by making connections and studying the blacksmithing trade. After a year, Ferruccio returned to his hometown of Cento, where the young master opened his own workshop with his friend Marino Filippini. They were only 19 years old at the time, but they were only able to work together for a short time until they were both drafted into the army in 1939. Until 1934, Ferruccio worked for the army, repairing both domestic and imported military equipment on his own. This circumstance greatly helped the young man, as he was able to gain experience that he would never have obtained in university. In 1943, the island of Rhodes, where Ferruccio was stationed, was captured by the Germans. Upon learning that by the time of the capture he was the head of the department and the personal mechanic of the senior management, the Germans gave him a choice: prison and death, or work as the chief mechanic to repair German equipment. Of course, Ferruccio chose his craft. Even after the war ended and the island became part of England, the talented master remained there until 1946. After that, he finally decided to return to his homeland. He tried to apply the knowledge he gained on the front lines to real-life peaceful situations. Upon returning to his hometown, he never sat idle. Orders came one after another, and by the end of 1947, there was not a single piece of farming equipment in his town that Ferruccio did not put his hand to. Realizing that his knowledge and hard work were in high demand, he gathered all his savings and borrowed part of the amount from his parents in 1948 to found the Lamborghini Company. There, he worked diligently to simplify the lives of local farmers, giving them a machine that could do some of the hard work for them. Many moons ago, a great inventor emerged amongst us. He worked hard for a year and created the first means of transport for his company. In 1949, Lamborghini produced their first tractor made in their own workshop. They took the engine from a military truck and constructed the cooling system themselves. They borrowed and modified most of the other parts. The first few tractors were offered to the local farmers, and they were so pleased with the work of the mechanic and engineer that they placed nearly a dozen more orders within a few months. And within a year, the number of orders for Lamborghini tractors grew so much that the company could not keep up with the demand. Of course, they had to keep expanding. The inventor, Ferruccio, faced a shortage of workers, space for production, and parts to assemble. He was already 35 years old and had made up his mind. He knew he wanted to be involved with technology production for the rest of his life, and so he took a risky step. Through his father, he borrowed a credit from a local bank. The family farm and tractor manufacturing plant were used as collateral for the loan. Yes, it was a risky venture, but he was confident. With the money he received, he purchased 1,000 new Morris engines, designed for the tractors of the future. In the first year, approximately 50 of the new tractors were sold, and 250 the following year. Lamborghini tractors were in high demand due to their affordable price, simplicity of design, and quality service. Any young boy could repair these tractors. The company grew very rapidly. In the post-war years, working the land in Italy was almost the only way to survive. The number of employees grew every year, as did the equipment, which was replaced with newer and better quality machines every 2 years. Ferruccio was successful in the tractor business until he decided to expand his business sphere. In this year, he opens another profitable enterprise called Lamborghini Bruciatori Silenziosissimi, which develops boilers, heating, and cooling systems as well as servicing them. Thanks to this, almost all of Italy is gradually transitioning from coal heating to gas. Of course, the revenue from these two enterprises was very good, and overall, thanks to the coordinated work of the entire team and all employees, the Italian economy slowly began to grow after the war. And here, my friends, we come to perhaps the main question: how did Ferruccio come to produce automobiles? It's very simple. Despite his professional interest in the tractor business, Ferruccio was also an avid car enthusiast. He often improved the cars he had, adding his own developments. For example, the first car he owned was a Fiat 500, but the businessman's heart was set on sports cars. The first such car was the Alfa Romeo 1900 Sprint. In 1955, he decided to buy a Mercedes-Benz 300 SL, but quickly became disappointed and sold it. This was the reason for his frequent car changes. As the founder himself later said, there were many shortcomings that only emerged during use, and this did not depend on whether it was a Ferrari or a Maserati. According to Ferruccio, every car was imperfect. At different times, he owned several Maserati 3500 GTs and a Jaguar E-Type, but he preferred the various modifications of the Ferrari 250 GT the most. By the way, it was precisely his ownership of Ferrari that inspired Ferruccio to develop his first car. Or rather, what happened one fine day. When asked how the first Lamborghini car came about, it was already Ferruccio's son, who answered after his father's death. Many moons ago, Ferruccio came to the Ferrari factory to complain about the poor quality of the clutch in his Ferrari 250 GT. He simply wanted to talk to Enzo Ferrari, maybe even give him some advice and help him fix the problem. But to his surprise, the fiery Enzo sent him back where he came from, wishing him to continue working on his tractors. Enzo called him a provincial farmer because he didn't understand cars, especially sports cars, as Ferruccio's son recounted in an interview. Angry and humiliated, Ferruccio Lamborghini returned to the factory, where he personally disassembled the transmission in his Ferrari with the help of the chief factory master and discovered that the manufacturer of many of the parts was the same as that of Lamborghini's tractors. He simply found a suitable replacement in his warehouse, and after assembly, the problem was solved. At that moment, Ferruccio made a promise to himself to teach Enzo Ferrari a lesson, and Ferrari had no idea how far Ferruccio would go to teach him that lesson. Burning with the idea of creating his own fast car, Ferruccio quickly realized what it needed to be equipped with. The engine was developed with the help of Giotto Bizzarini, who had previously worked at Ferrari. The clutch was made identical to that of a tractor, and the idea of creating a body was realized by designer Franco Scaglione. In 1963, Ferruccio opened another company, now producing cars under the name of Lamborghini. For the first time, his company's car appeared at the official opening of the 1963 Turin Auto Show, where the first-ever Lamborghini 350 GTV created a sensation among the public. Ferruccio immediately made it clear that his car was not created for racing and competition. It was created for good driving and enjoyment. Interestingly, the car was only partially ready for its first appearance. But after receiving several dozen orders in May 1964, its design was improved and serious production began. At the next car show in Turin, another model, the P400, was presented. However, Ferruccio was not pleased with it and improved upon it by 1966, releasing a new and improved version once again called the Miura. No one expected such success. In just a couple of years, 764 units of the new car were sold. The price of the car at that time was no less than $20,000 per unit, making it unquestionably luxurious. But even this did not stop true car enthusiasts. Thanks to such sales, Lamborghini quickly surpassed Ferrari, leaving it far behind. With such success, the Lamborghini car market gradually added new models. In the early 70s, the Islero S model was released, followed by the Jarama 400 GT, better known in narrow circles as Ferruccio's personal Rolls-Royce. The lineup also expanded with off-road vehicles like the Cheetah, developed primarily for sale to the U.S. Armed Forces. But the next successful car with an unusual design and guillotine doors became the Goddess Countach, a model that could reach speeds of up to 300 kilometers per h and became the first supercar in the Guinness Book of World Records, produced until 1990. In 1979, an improved version of the Countach LP 400S was released, with a 455 horsepower engine and, for the first time in the history of the brand, a 4-valve motor. However, unexpectedly, Ferruccio elevated not only the automobile industry but also tractor engineering, and decided to step down from his leadership post. The reason was the termination of the contract for the delivery of agricultural machinery to the territory of South America. This plunged the company into a crisis, the way out of which, according to Ferruccio, was won. He managed to sell part of the company's shares as early as 1972, and the oil crisis that occurred in 1973 was further confirmation of the correctness of his decision. But all the tractor production gradually passed into the hands of the Italian conglomerate Same Deutz-Fahr Group. By 1974, he had completely sold all of his shares and, with the money he received, purchased a villa in Castiglione del Lago, where he began growing grapes and making wine, simply enjoying a peaceful way of life. He also manufactured golf cars and even once built a car for the Pope and John Paul II. Since Lamborghini's departure from the companies, several more models have been released that have become cult classics in the automotive world. For example, the Countach LP 400 with an updated design now has a power output of 375 horsepower, the Silhouette two-seater coupe. However, even with the launch of new models, Lamborghini was unable to avoid financial difficulties. Unfortunately, due to problems with roads, Lamborghini cars lost their popularity, and interruptions in the supply of spare parts and components also had an impact on the company's condition. All of these seemingly minor mishaps led to Lamborghini declaring bankruptcy in 1978. All shares were put up for auction and purchased by the Mimram brothers. A couple of years later, the company fell into the hands of the Chrysler Corporation, under whose leadership an improved Lamborghini Countach model was released, receiving a memorable name, Diablo. But even it could not save Lamborghini from accumulating financial problems, and once again it changed hands. This time, a sufficiently large Indonesian investment group, Matek, acquired all the shares, and Tommy Soeharto became the new director, who also failed to develop something progressive and relevant, but easily added to the company's debt. Unable to withstand pressure from competitors, Lamborghini changed ownership again in 1998. The control of the stocks of the company has been passed on to the Audi AG, a new and final owner. Under their guidance, Lamborghini's production has been organized efficiently, resulting in a remarkable improvement in the design of their cars, making them more modern, stylish, and versatile. Thanks to Audi AG's investment of resources and financial support, Lamborghini has become a symbol of luxurious lifestyle around the world. Some people even order exclusive parts and create unique, expensive designs that attract buyers from all corners of the globe. In 2001, a new model called Murcielago was introduced, with 400 units sold. That same year, the Lamborghini Museum was inaugurated, which still stands today. Visitors can explore the brand's history and even sit in each car that has become an icon of the ages. 10 years later, Lamborghini introduced the Aventador, capable of reaching 100 kilometers per h in just 3 seconds. And in 2014, they launched another model, the Huracan, which has significantly expanded the collections of sports car enthusiasts. 3 years later, in 2017, the Urus, an SUV with unique color schemes and larger dimensions, was introduced. Many people know that Lamborghini cars are often seen in the streets of the United Arab Emirates, where police officers patrol the area with them, or in the Italian police, where Lamborghinis are used to transport organ donors. The most exciting specimens can be seen in the Vatican on St. Peter's Square. The police often use cars that resemble golf-class Lamborghinis to chase potential criminals. Amidst the great throngs of tourists, such a vehicle will be much more convenient and maneuverable than a supercar. The Lamborghini logo has remained unchanged to this day. Since 1963, the golden color of the emblem has demonstrated to fans the superiority and rich traditions of the automaker. But few know why Ferruccio chose this symbol. It was not chosen at random, for Ferruccio Lamborghini was born under the sign of Taurus, and believed that due to the influence of Taurus on the formation of his character, he was able to achieve such success, always pushing forward even when all doors seemed closed. Remarkably, in just 9 years of running the company, Ferruccio was able to change the automotive world and completely turn it upside down, bringing production of sports cars into it. Some of his knowledge came from working in the tractor industry. Ferruccio Lamborghini was able to achieve almost all of his dreams. He wanted to be better than Enzo Ferrari in everything, and he became better and even wanted to live longer than him. And when Enzo Ferrari died at the age of 90, Ferruccio was determined to live until 91, surpassing him in that regard as well. But life has its own rules and orders, and unfortunately, it was not meant to happen. Ferruccio Lamborghini died on February 20th, 1993 at the age of 76, leaving an indelible mark on the history of car manufacturing. Since the first car under the Lamborghini brand was introduced, 23 different models have been released, including the latest ones. For example, the Aventador Miura model was released in a limited edition of only 50 cars, and, by the way, turned out to be a very generous investment for true connoisseurs of this brand. For every passing year, the value of this model increases by at least a couple of million. Even in complete silence, sitting in the cabin, you can easily feel how the car almost silently increases in value before your very eyes. From the beginning, Ferruccio Lamborghini set the rule that his cars do not participate in races, so during his leadership, the company did not produce racing cars. However, under Rossetti's leadership, the company, together with BMW, decided to create a car suitable for racing. However, Lamborghini did not succeed in their part of the task, and the car was entirely developed by BMW's motorsport division. Later, it was produced and sold as the BMW M1. In 1986, to participate in the Group C competitions, the company created the Lamborghini QVX. The car was built, but problems with sponsors forced them to skip the season. QVX only participated in one non-prize race at the Johannesburg track in 1986 under Tiffany's management. Despite showing a reasonably good result, the funding program was closed. From 1989 to 1993, Lamborghini supplied V12 engines for Formula One cars. In 1991, Lamborghini fielded their own team in races, which lasted only one season. In 2014, in memory of Ferruccio, a student from Staffordshire named Mark Hostetler even created the Lamborghini Ferruccio Corporation, dedicated to the 50th anniversary of the Lamborghini car brand. In general, this is the amazing world of these beautiful and super cool cars. The amazing world of Lamborghini sports cars, which was developed by an ordinary farmer's son and later a tractor manufacturer. It's even hard to believe that if it were not for Enzo Ferrari's rude words, and if it were not for problems with the clutch on Ferruccio's car, the world would probably never have seen these cars, which today are a standard of luxury, success, and beauty. But as the saying goes, big things always start small. Whether it's a simple desire to create something with your own hands or just words thrown to the wind. Friends, that's all for today. Please share your thoughts in the comments about this amazing story. Also, please rate the video and see you soon.